Tim Cook is officially out at Apple. And I don't want to say I told you so, and the pick I've been talking about is going to be the new Apple CEO effective September 1st. But what do you actually need to know about Apple CEO John Ternus? Apple lovers are excited that hopefully he's going to take Apple into a whole new area. Apple haters hope he's going to take Apple down and destroy the company. Let me break down what we know and really the four main things you need to know about Apple's new CEO and how he's already making waves with the iPhone 18. And the news we just got, it's not good. All right, so first thing you need to know about John Ternus is that he is not like Steve Jobs and he's not like Tim Cook, which is probably going to be a good thing. We've heard internally that he is pretty well liked by his colleagues, and he's much more of an engineer, responsible for some pretty big contributions to AirPods and to the iPad and to the Mac, more than he was some kind of logistics numbers guru like Tim Cook, and not so much a product visionary like Steve Jobs. If you look at his track record and what he's done at the company, I think a lot of people, especially longtime Apple fans, are going to be really happy with what this could mean. For example, this is a hardware guy, and he is kind of one of the most responsible people, for what we've heard at least, turning the iPad into more of a tool and less of a toy. And also, he was someone who was very critical of Apple going the route of Apple Vision Pro and all the time and money that went into a mixed reality headset. And he was also one of the most vocal opponents of Apple building a car. And we all know how that project ultimately turned out. So in some instances, seems like he's actually fighting the good fight for Apple customers on the inside, though on the contrary, we've also heard that he was someone who was really in love with the touch bar and the butterfly keyboard, though to his credit, he did axe those relatively quickly and then move on to much bigger and better things. And especially if you look at his track record over the last couple of years, he's really been the face of the Mac, and especially the Mac since the Apple Silicon transition. And I think that, love Apple or hate them, you can't argue with the fact that the Mac has never been better than it is right now. Just the ports coming back, the labor and attention to detail on function over form, and all of these great things with the MacBook Neo. In fact, we've heard that John Ternus was someone who really supported Apple and pushed them to make the Neo, which kind of leads us to point number 2, which we're hearing, according to sources talking to Bloomberg, that his leadership style is going to be different, actually more akin to Jobs than Cook, where he's going to be more kind of decisive, making more decisions and moving quicker than Tim Cook. Basically, the analogy we kind of heard in reporting was that if someone came to Tim Cook with a question, he wouldn't ask for, option A or answer B. He'd ask questions, he'd mull it over, he'd ask other people, and basically it kind of turned into this thing where a small group of executives were making the big decisions at Apple, and there wasn't one singular person, which has its pros, but also does have its cons. Kind of the flip side of that is John Ternus, who we've heard is much quicker in making decisions. He's willing to own something one way or the other, which is probably a good thing, because the third thing you need to know is that when this guy takes his new position on September 1st, he's going to have a lot of problems he's going to need to solve. Now, some products are smashing successes, like the MacBook Neo, for example, which we've heard Ternus is a fan of. It's been selling almost too well, where Apple can't keep up with demand. We obviously have a pretty exciting fall coming up with the iPhone 18. We're going to be getting the iPhone Fold. We're going to be getting some new Pro models, so we are hearing, due to a number of economic issues, that Apple might be actually downgrading the base iPhone 18, maybe not taking away new features, but just not adding in as many things to keep the price where it is. So we've heard some new reports that actually might be a bit of a downgrade, so keep that in mind. But also, of course, there's a bunch of things with Apple Intelligence that Apple needs to figure out what in the world they're going to do. There's a lot of question on some of these lingering products that don't seem to make a lot of sense. And also, kind of simultaneously with this big announcement, another key Apple exec is getting promoted. Johnny S, not Johnny Ive, I'm not even going to attempt to butcher his last name. This guy is kind of regarded as the father of Apple Silicon. He's really gotten the credit for the amazing transformation the Mac and really all Apple devices have undergone thanks to Apple Silicon. And to spill the tea a little bit, we actually heard that a couple of months ago, he was unhappy with his position. He wanted something more, and he was actually looking to leave Apple. And it looks like instead, Apple gave him a brand new title and likely a compensation bump. Ternus is CEO, this guy becomes the CHO. That could be good or bad, depending on how you feel about number 4, the fourth thing to know, and that is kind of what to expect coming next. And that is, to sum it up pretty quickly, that things are going to be interesting. We've actually heard that Ternus might have been the choice here to kind of counter-program the narrative where all these companies are jumping on the AI hype and bandwagon. That's not where Apple's strength is right now. Their strength is still in hardware, which is why they're giving a hardware guru the top job. And we're hearing that Ternus is going to make a lot of big moves to make Apple's hardware better than it's ever been before, which again, according to the leaks and rumors with the iPhone Fold and some of the new MacBook Pro redesigns and things like that, should be pretty exciting. Also keep in mind that these changes don't happen overnight. Like just because Ternus becomes CEO September 1st doesn't mean he has his whole new vision for the iPhone 18 Pro and the iPhone Fold. These things take some time, so I don't think we're gonna see any huge major shakeups for probably at least the first 9 to 12 months, if that. It kind of took some time with Tim Cook, but because this is unlike the previous transition where it was much more slow and methodical, Tim Cook's still gonna be around on the board, this is still very much an active thing, perhaps he's had some more time to get the ball rolling, and a big part of that new hardware, of course, are some new AI products. We've got this new HomePad thing. We're hearing that Apple is moving forward on making their own intelligent little pendant. They're still working on AirPods Pro with cameras built in for some new real-world intelligence and Vision Pro-like features and navigation and things you can do with your hands to control the system. And then also glasses. Apple is still working on smart glasses, and this is an area that they are going to likely get into next year. And we're hearing that Ternus has been the leader on this project or these new projects for the last little bit, and as CEO, he is overseeing now everything and is going to be calling all the shots. It's going to be really interesting to see how Apple moves in this new direction and how John Ternus is going to be as really the new CEO. And this is going to be one of the biggest Apple, organizational changes we've had basically since Johnny Ive left a number of years ago, and really since Cook became CEO 15 years ago. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? Where do you guys stand? Are you happy about the news? You disappointed? Or have you been following me all along and you weren't blindsided by this because you knew it was coming? Thank you for that. Or do you have some differing opinions and thoughts? Drop a comment down below. Let me know. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. I am Robert Rosenfeld from TAC. I'll see you guys in the next one.